You are not going to believe what's been going on with Meghan Markle. I mean, honestly, she really thought she had it all figured out this time. A shiny new season of With Love, Meghan, Netflix's big money machine behind her, and yet another golden ticket to prove to the world she's not just some royal exile with a podcast, but instead of applause, silence. And not just any silence, Hollywood silence. The kind that's so loud it's deafening. This was supposed to be her comeback, her big redemption arc. She was ready for a clean slate, a new narrative, the whole look at me now moment. Except, instead of a triumphant rise, what we got was a slow-motion train wreck playing out for everyone to see. She's been working overtime to position herself as misunderstood, mistreated, maybe even misjudged. But let's be real, the public isn't buying it. And guess what? Neither is Netflix. So here's the tea. Meghan recently gave what she called an emotional confession about everything that went wrong behind the scenes of With Love, Meghan Season 2. She painted herself as vulnerable, talking about creative clashes, budget cuts, and how her dream for the series never came to life the way she'd hoped. On the surface, sure, it just sounds like your standard Hollywood drama. But if you dig even a little bit deeper, oh honey, you can't ignore the subtext. She was basically airing Netflix's dirty laundry while still expecting them to stand behind her. She claimed there were toxic moments on set. She had creative differences with producers, cast members, and even Netflix execs. She said parts of her vision were deleted, rewritten, or never even shot. And of course, she blamed studio politics and budgeting for crushing her masterpiece. Now here's where everyone's eyebrows went up. Meghan didn't just say it was tough. She positioned herself as the victim of an industry that just wouldn't let her shine. She wanted people to see her as a voice for hardworking women, especially in film and television. She wanted to connect, to say, look, I've had to climb uphill too. But the way she delivered it didn't feel raw and authentic. It felt staged, like a PR move, her trying to save a ship that was already halfway underwater. And instead of people rallying behind her, they saw straight through it. Because let's not forget, Netflix gave Meghan more freedom and money than most first-time creators could ever dream of. We're talking a mansion, a huge platform, and a top-tier team. And now, they're pulling away. Insiders are saying Ted Sarandos himself is done. No more contracts, no more meetings, no more pretending this partnership is working. Meghan's big confession might have been heartfelt, or at least emotionally true. But it was also the final nail in the coffin. You can't bite the hand that funds your million-dollar project and expect them to serve you another plate. And it doesn't stop there. Meghan's comments didn't just stick to her show. She also shared her, let's call it her philosophy on Hollywood. She said actors should lecture society through film and television, that the whole point of being in the industry is to educate the public. Because, in her words, too many women and men are uneducated and don't know what path to take. I mean, really? Was she trying to inspire people? Or was she just playing teacher to an audience that never asked for a class? That air of moral superiority, that's exactly what's turning people off. Instead of empowering, it comes across as condescending. And now, instead of being celebrated as a voice for the voiceless, Meghan is looking more like someone completely out of touch with the people she claims to represent. Netflix might have been her launchpad, but it's also where her fall is unfolding for the whole world to see. When Meghan first came back into the Hollywood spotlight, she had it all. The attention, the money, and that rare second chance. Netflix rolled out the red carpet with a multi-million-dollar deal. All she had to do was deliver something meaningful, authentic, and watchable. But instead, she got caught up in building this message-heavy empire that tried too hard to preach and not enough to entertain. From the very start, With Love, Meghan was more than just another series. It was her passion project, her voice, her story, her truth. But somewhere between Season 1's flop and Season 2's messy production, it stopped being about storytelling and turned into a public therapy session. With cameras, her scripts were loaded with life lessons and social commentary. Instead of feeling like TV scenes, they came across like lectures. And here's the problem. People don't tune in to Netflix for a lecture. They just want good TV. Netflix knew it and they started pushing back. Scenes were cut, episodes were shortened, whole chunks of content got shelved. Word around the studio lot was that Meghan's creative control turned into tension rather than collaboration. By the time the show hit the edit bay, what was left was a watered-down version of her original vision. Still messy, but now with none of the punch. To Meghan, it was sabotage. To Netflix, it was damage control. Her now infamous public confession was framed as bravery, talking about her soul being crushed by budget restrictions. the sacrifices she made for the story, and how Hollywood's treatment of women had worn her down. But here's what she didn't say. The way she pushed people away on set, the fact that multiple crew members quietly left mid-season, and that many of the problems came from her own habit of micromanaging everything. And the audience? They weren't just skipping the show, they were avoiding it on purpose. Social media, forums, comment sections, they were flooded with people mocking how tone-deaf it all felt. Meghan's attempt to relate to everyday women just didn't land. Her version of hardship felt distant, even performative. It didn't help that she kept rewriting scripts even during production, sometimes the night before filming. The crew was thrown into chaos. Some scenes had to be filmed multiple times with completely different tones depending on Meghan's mood that day. And let's not forget the rumored shouting matches with the showrunner. Things got so bad, Netflix had to bring in a neutral producer just to keep the peace. But by then, the damage was done. Netflix didn't outright cancel the show, but they came pretty close. They gave it the quietest release possible. Barely any promotion, no flashy banners on the homepage, no big trailers, and zero press interviews with Meghan. They just dropped it and hoped for the best. Spoiler, the best never came. Critics tore the series apart for being aimless, preachy, and emotionally flat. Even Meghan's most loyal online defenders went quiet. The momentum she'd built after leaving the royal family, all the goodwill and curiosity, disappeared with one failed release. And if there's one thing Hollywood doesn't forgive, it's being out of touch, especially when your product flops. Netflix didn't need to make a statement. Their silence said everything. Behind closed doors, they'd already made the decision. No future seasons, no renewals, no follow-up projects. The giant that once banked on her post-royal glow now saw her as a sunk cost. Hollywood followed Netflix's lead. Meghan's team reportedly shopped around for a new deal to reignite her brand. Anything with anyone. Paramount? No response. Warner Brothers? A polite pass. Even the smaller production houses that once drooled at the chance to work with her now gave her the cold shoulder. Industry insiders say it's simple. Meghan's no longer seen as a misunderstood disruptor. She's seen as a liability. Too much control, too much drama, and too quick to blame everyone else when things crumble. She doesn't just bring a brand, she brings baggage. And the public? They're not helping her case. Every interview, every podcast episode feels less like genuine insight and more like PR damage control. Her empowerment speeches have started to sound like polished monologues from a crisis management meeting. And for someone who claims to speak to hardworking women, her tone can feel, well, a little superior. But Meghan isn't backing down. Oh no, she's doubling down. So picture this. Meghan's at this recent event promoting her brand. Lights, cameras, a room full of people. She takes the stage and, here we go again, she's talking about how actors and actresses have this big responsibility to educate society. She starts going on about how storytelling can change the world and how she sees herself as a leader in that movement. She's expecting cheers, standing ovations, applause that rattles the walls. Instead, polite claps, forced smiles, and that awkward, heavy silence you get when everyone's too uncomfortable to call out the elephant in the room. Because here's the thing. There's a big difference between being a visionary and being, well, delusional. And Meghan, bless her heart, is tiptoeing dangerously close to that line. She keeps framing herself as the poor creative who was wronged by the system. But when you stack up all the evidence, the story changes. This wasn't a brilliant artist being silenced by corporate suits. This was a first-time producer trying to play big league Hollywood without putting in the years it takes to actually learn the craft. And Hollywood, they don't care if you've got a title, a royal history, or a sob story. They care about results. And Meghan's results: bad reviews, low ratings, and a broken relationship with the platform that gave her the shot speak louder than any interview she's done. So what now? Some say she's going to pivot entirely to podcasting. Others think she'll disappear for a bit, regroup, and then come back with yet another rebrand. But one thing's for sure, Hollywood has moved on. And unlike the royal family, this town doesn't hand out second chances just because your name makes headlines. The irony? Meghan set out to control her own narrative. She wanted to be the writer of her own story, the one steering the ship. But in trying so hard to craft the perfect image, she might have written herself right out of the story completely. This whole saga has turned into a cautionary tale, a mix of ambition, miscalculation, and an audience that simply stopped listening. Because let's be honest, she had it all laid out for her. The deals, the platform, the public curiosity. All she had to do was deliver something that made people feel, something that connected. Instead, she delivered lectures wrapped in glossy production. Netflix wanted a hit. What they got was a project that felt like homework. And the audience? they decided they'd rather skip class. Now, behind closed doors, even her former allies in the industry are saying it. Meghan doesn't just come with a project, she comes with problems. The control, the high expectations, the constant need to rewrite and reframe. It's too much for most studios to handle. And here's the kicker. Every time she tries to win people back, she just digs herself in deeper. What was once seen as empowerment now feels like talking down. What was once authentic now feels rehearsed. She wanted to show the world she could make it in Hollywood on her own terms. But Hollywood doesn't play by anyone's terms. And right now, it's playing without her. Whether she retreats, reinvents, or keeps pushing forward, one thing is certain. The Meghan Markle Netflix era is over. The big streaming fairy tale ended not with a bang, but with a quiet click of the upload button and the audience scrolling right past. And in a town where yesterday's headline is today's forgotten news, that silence is the loudest message of all. Loudest.